Hey, Blue Rev. Welcome to the third episode of the Blue Rev Show. My name is Dan McCool. I'm the founder of Blue Revolution. And we got a good one for you today. We're going to be airing an interview in a little bit with Jason Berlin, who is the founder of Field Team 6, great voter registration organization whose motto is Registered Democrats Save the World. And yeah, some good stuff in the interview. I was the field director for Field Team 6 in Philadelphia before COVID hit in 2020. And so Jason and I get to talk about the organization, some of what we accomplished in 2020. You know, Pennsylvania for me was a particularly, kind of special thing. I mean, it was the closest and largest swing state to my proximity, state that Trump won by only 44,000 votes in 2016, and Biden won it by about double that in 2020, which was still by a sliver of the vote. But really proud of the work we did in Philadelphia last year to register voters. And so I could talk to Jason a little bit about that in this recorded interview. And I hope you forgive that this coffee shop that I'm at in Brooklyn is blasting the Grateful Dead, which I don't mind. I just recently got into the Grateful Dead, but it's, part of the product of doing a show on the road when I'm traveling, having sort of a traveling office here these days in Blue Rev. So, but anyway, I hope you enjoy the interview with Jason. Just a couple sort of news items first and some thoughts on, things going on in politics right now. Of course, this week we had the Rittenhouse verdict, which was tragic and frustrating and angered, obviously, members of Blue Revolution. We had posts coming in all day long about the verdict, and sort of just goes to show, I think we're just thinking this ongoing, kind of realization in American politics right now, in American history right now, where we are recognizing the type of privilege that does come with certain types of violence that are privileged. And certainly we saw that with Rittenhouse. Very frustrating that the verdict went the way that it did. And we're here for everyone. We're here to continue this conversation and continue talking about ways to both emotionally and policy-wise and political-wise dealing with these sorts of things, right? So obviously a big disappointment, but we've also got the Build Back Better framework, which just passed the House and is going to the Senate. Lots of great things in this bill: childcare, universal pre-K, expanded broadband, and we are hearing, I think, more aggressively from the Biden administration about some of the benefits of this bill, which is a good sign. We're still, as you'll see in the interview that I'll play in just a minute, we're still about a year away from the 2022 midterms, and if this thing does pass, and I believe it will, we'll have some good things to run on as Democrats, and we're going to have to try to defy history in the midterms, folks, because it's going to be bad if we lose in 2022, if we lose the House. But we're already revved up. We're already revved up from 2020, and I think there's a lot more good work that we can do over the next year. So we're going to keep our eye on the framework of that bill, see what happens in the Senate, and go from there. We also saw today that President Biden was releasing strategically releasing the gas, but I can't even think of the phrase for it. It's been a long day. The emergency reserve for gasoline in the country, 50 million barrels, I believe I saw. So hopefully it helps with gas prices. It's not a long-term solution to our dependence on oil, but right now I think that consumers are really feeling the pinch. There's no sugarcoating it. And Biden has been a little bit more aggressive in recent days about, doing something about the supply chain bottlenecks building up, and also the gasoline prices going up. So, and that's something that people just feel in their everyday lives. It doesn't matter what kinds of bills are passing. It doesn't matter, restoring honor to the White House and all these sorts of nebulous ideas for most voters are not gonna cut it. So Biden's trying to manage it. He's trying to manage a disaster that he inherited, and it's a good thing to see. So just, other than that, folks, I do want to, again, sort of just preview this interview by saying that Jason Berlin is one of the most inspiring people that I know in politics. Field Team 6 is a fantastic organization that we're going to be working with in Blue Rev leading up to the midterms and beyond. And the link to sign up to register voters is going to be in the post here, whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere else that we post this. Do go ahead and sign up. We've got a few hundred people who signed up so far here in Blue Rev to help out next year, whether it's postcards, letter writing, phone banking, donations, and also voter registration efforts, which that's what this interview is going to be about. So anyway, thanks everyone. We're in episode 3 now. I think that this is going pretty well. I try to keep it simple with the show, nothing too fancy, just a few thoughts and then an interview. And thanks to everyone who's been tuning in so far. I think it's been a success, and it's helping me get organized as well, I got to say, going into the midterms. So enjoy this interview with Jason Berlin, and we will talk to you very soon. Now, I want to introduce a really special guest today. On the show, on the Blue Rev Show today, we have Jason Berlin, who is the founder of the great, fantastic, incredible, inspiring Field Team 6, which is an organization that, and they say in interviews, like, don't tell the viewers your personal connection to the person that you're interviewing, or don't go overboard with it. But in this situation, I feel like I sort of have to, because I've just been a huge fan of Field Team 6 ever since I met Jason at a conference in Philadelphia a couple years ago before the 2020 election. But I do want to introduce the founder of Field Team 6, Jason Berlin. Jason, thanks so much for being on the Blue Rev Show today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's a huge honor to continue working with Blue Rev. Like we have in the 2016 to 2020 cycle. It's amazing what you built, what all of you have built, and all the brute grassroots activism that you have churned out with incredible results.
Jason recruited me before COVID hit to do voter registration in Philadelphia last year. So I was the, field director for Philadelphia for Field Team 6, going out on the streets with clipboards and volunteers and, passion and excitement and energy and registering people to vote. And so we're really proud of the work that we did there. We obviously got cut short with COVID, but that's sort of my connection to Field Team 6. But Jason, if you want to sort of tell the viewers here in Blue Rev a little bit more about what you did in 2020 and what you accomplished, or you can go back even further, because I know you were founded before that, but what did you accomplish sort of leading up to the big grand slam moment of the 2020 election?
I was a TV writer for 18 years, and a writer and producer, doing mainly reality, comedy, animation, and for about 18 years. And then Trump got elected, and I had to change my life. It broke my brain and heart, like it did probably everybody on this call. I quit my career and went into volunteering, just working with the resistance full time. Worked with Swing Left for a year, interviewed hard for a job with the Democratic Party of California, got a job as a regional organizer for LA County. And in the lead up to the 2018 midterms, rallied a volunteer army who were mainly women. I have to say, just like the resistance is nationwide, about 80% women. Thank you for saving the world. And we registered over 6,000 Democrats, helped do our part to flip 5 swing congressional districts and take back the House in 2018. So that's when my job with the party ended, which was natural and also insane. And so that's when just a few weeks later, I founded Field Team 6 with the mission Register Democrats Save the World, so that we could break the wheel of pain. So, where this voter registration just stops after every election and doesn't rev back up until a month before the next election, it's not okay. That should be not a one-night stand with the voters. It should be a relationship. It should be all year, every year. So that's what Field Team 6 set out to do: keep the army of volunteers who are passionate and dedicated, keep them going, and see what good trouble we could get into on a national scale with 12 target states. So we specialized in person voter drives in high traffic areas. So not going door to door, but going to a busy place like a community college or a pride event or a courthouse, library, places like that. And registering Democrats wearing partisan gear, always being polite and respectful, but also proudly partisan. So we attract our people wherever we go. And our voter drives were super effective until COVID hit and knocked that out. So out of necessity, we had to crack the nut of virtual outreach. And that's what we did. We pivoted like you guys did, like the entire left side did. And we said, oh, okay, this could stop us. Or maybe now we just make every single one of our homes a hub of activism. And from our living rooms, just shoot out trajectories of emails and postcards and texts and phone calls. And that's what we all did. Just to remember for a second what badasses all of you are. Like, we have to remember that we actually did save the world, because now we got to do it again.
I was proud of the pivot that we did in 2020. As I said, I was going down to Philly, pretty consistently and registering voters. But we did everything from home. We did everything virtually. It was not, for me, I sort of get energy from people that I meet, strangers, talking to people about politics, talking to people about the importance of voting. So for me, it was a big adjustment. I know that for everyone else, it was a big adjustment as well. So, but we did it. We did have a huge impact, and Register Democrats Save the World was not just a slogan. It's actually, it really is what we did. When you think about how close that election ended up being in 2020, and some days we wake up and the news sucks and it's not fun, and there's there's still plenty to be angry about, still plenty to be disappointed about. But it is important to remind ourselves as often as we humanly can, how big of an impact we had in 2020 and how we did really sort of save. Imagine if we hadn't won that election, right? And I don't even want to imagine it, but yeah. So you mentioned sort of what we do when we get out there, but and for those listening right now, the link to sign up to register voters is going to be in the post, whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere else we're posting it. Just go ahead and go to that link and you can sign up, and we'll be in touch about Field Team 6 efforts. But Jason, if you could tell us a day in the life of a Field Team 6 volunteer or field director, I guess both, and just sort of lay out what you do. You mentioned that the organization is partisan. I think that's sort of a big part of it. That's pretty uncommon. So just tell us, a day in the life of a volunteer, a day in the life of a leader in Field Team 6.
So a day in the life of a volunteer, every day of the week, there are different opportunities. So they might be phone banking one day, text banking the next. We're actually working on, we have BYOP text banks, bring your own phone. We're trying to crack the nut of how to send lightning bolts through our database, turn people into new voters, new Democrats in these swing states without the expensive text banks. Normal text banks are expensive. So this is a way to do it for free using people's own data plans. Lots of people have unlimited data, and we're working on that right now.
Are you going to be going back to in-person registration leading up to the midterms and beyond?
Absolutely. It all, of course, depends on COVID, and it's changing every week. But right now, we are absolutely encouraging people as strongly, as passionately as we can to go out there, fully vaxxed, boosted if you can get a booster, and if you're eligible for it, always outdoors, always with a mask. And that seems to be really a safe way to do it. And we've had in-person voter drives in Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina, California so far, and looking to continue those and build up more drives in other of our target states, including, of course, Pennsylvania. The entire list also includes Arizona, Florida, North Carolina, Nevada, Texas, and I already mentioned the others.
That's great. Particularly with with Texas, we just saw that Beto was running in Texas, and likely to get the nomination, I assume, for governor of Texas, and hopefully that electrifies that state in many ways. But be fun to be on the ground there, registering folks. And when I was a field director in Philadelphia, it really was, and people think I'm really sort of like blowing smoke when I say this sometimes, but it really was like meeting both with the volunteers and then meeting, what we did mostly was talk to students at the community college in downtown Philly. And just students really were grateful that we were there. It's like they got stop people on the streets for all kinds of annoying stuff. But for those who did stop, and this is not universal, but for those who did stop, they were really happy that we were there. They were like, oh, I've been meaning to register to vote, or I'm taking a class where they talked about it, but I sort of didn't really go through the process and sort of get the forms I needed and Google the things I needed. And, you're there basically providing, you're lessening the cost of voter registration, right? Everything you do in politics costs something, whether it's like a subway ticket to go down and get to go vote, or it's to sort of take a few minutes out of the day or out of work to get registered, or to educate yourself about how to get registered, right? So we're there kind of providing let's take care of this for you, right? And what we were doing in Philly is just literally taking like a stack of voter registration forms down to the voter registration office, a mile away, and boom, they're registered to vote. So we're taking care of those costs for people. So folks, again, if you're watching this and you see the link to sign up for, midterm activism, that the in-person voter registration is going to be a part of that. So go ahead and sign up for that.
Can I throw in something?
Please do.
There's a Pew study that says that 60% of people who are not registered to vote have never been asked. How sad is that?
Wow.
So that's
fascinating.
It's sad and promising, right? Right. Promising because we can do that. That's what we're there to do. We're the democracy delivery service, meeting them where they are physically, literally, and asking.
I remember that night of 2020 election, and obviously people were kind of freaking out, and Trump wins Florida, Trump wins Ohio. These states were a little bit distant, but once it started getting close in Pennsylvania, I remember going into Blue Rev and literally tagging all the volunteers I met through Field Team 6 when I was field directing, and saying, as you watch these results come in and you watch 100 votes this way, 300 votes that way, 400 votes this way, 200 votes, those are people that we registered on a cold February day, in 2020, and would have registered a lot more in person, but Field Team 6 then, obviously took the initiative to pivot towards a virtual activism. But yeah, I mean, these are real people that were registering to vote, right? These are real people who, that 60% number is incredible. I would have led the show with that had I known.
Right.
That really is a pretty cool statistic. It's sort of like
yeah, it's eye-opening. So I just about that pivot. We were able to, because we pivoted like that, we were able to build this unique database that no other organization has, this 15.5 million now in our database, reach out to all of them, every single one between 1 and 7 times. And in the end, we were able to help register almost 3 million Democrats in swing states in 2020.
Wow. 3 million. I mean, that election came down to 44,000 votes in 3 states. So that is,
that's right.
That's unbelievable. That's seriously unbelievable, Jason. Wow.
Less than 44,000 votes swung the Electoral College in Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin.
I mean, just, elections are won on the margins these days. They're always close. You could put Daffy Duck with an R after their name and they'll get 50% of the vote, right? And or on the Democratic side, it's just people are so partisan. The teams are so set right now that just those little differences just really make, those little margins really make all the difference. I mean, so kudos to you. And I mean, all the work that the Blue Revers did, with postcards, with this, with texting, with calling, these things really do make a difference. Don't ever think that these don't make a difference.
All of
folks.
that.
They really, really do.
That all mattered. Every single thing. When you look at 43,000, that is, I mean, in a nation of 330 plus million,
Yeah,
That is razor thin. That's
it's
insane. The
remarkable.
margin, is like 11,000 something in Georgia, right? 10,000 something in Wisconsin, 10, 11,000. Um, it
Yeah.
like insanely close.
Every single time you pick up a pen or fill out a form or do some kind of activism or volunteer work, it really does matter. And I think that going into 2022 and 2024, we really need to remember this. And again, we also need to remember that as frustrating as politics can be right now, they could, politics could be much worse. I mean, we're basically debating how many trillions of dollars we're going to use to help the American economy and the American people, rather than spending that exhausting, this time just exhausting ourselves by trying to stop everything, which is what we're doing from 2017 to 2021. We're actually in charge now, and again, as frustrating as that is, it's a good place to be. It's a good problem to have. So, Jason, I wanted to go back just for 1 second. Explain to the viewers, why do we wear partisan gear when we go out? What is the whole purpose of that? Why do we wear like Obama shirts or pro-environmental shirts or Bernie shirts or whatever it is that we wear? What's the point of that?
That's part of why we're so effective in what we do. The old model is nonpartisan voter registration, and that is absolutely great. I'm not talking trash at all about that. We absolutely need that. This is just the other side of the coin. You need both sides. Partisan, so nonpartisan, they can register people inside a DMV, in nonpartisan settings. That's fine. What partisan voter registration gives you is the ability to go anywhere and find your people. The ability to, you don't have to check out if it's a conservative or liberal area. You can just go to a college and wearing an Obama sweatshirt or a Biden Harris hat, and your people will walk up to you, and in general, zero Republicans will approach. It's a magic force field that repels Republicans. It really works.
So we're attracting Democratic voters. We're attracting progressives and progressive-minded people and Democratic voters, and folks who are not that are not going to want to approach you. So it's, yeah, as you said, it's sort of a natural way to get folks who we agree with to talk to us, which is the point.
It's true. Also, if you believe in voting rights, then ironically, you should not be registering Republicans, because they don't. They're trying to make the act of registering voters hard or impossible, as close to impossible as they can. So we're at an existential moment in our democracy where we need to register more Democrats specifically. What we also do is this gives us the ability to canvass while we register. In other words, when we register a voter, we don't let them leave without knowing the date of the next election and the names of any Democratic candidates who are running, from the top to the bottom of the ballot. Just if you can get out in Pennsylvania, remember, please vote for Senator Mark Kelly. Got to keep Democrat Mark Kelly, spaceman, keep him in the Senate, just get that name recognition, especially with someone like Mark Kelly, who has just one of the most forgettable two first names in a row. Get it out there,
Could be Kelly Mark, could be Mark Kelly, right? But we got to win that Arizona race this year. It's a big one. So
absolutely. And Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, got to get his name out there. Got to get him reelected. Pat Toomey, Republican Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania. You don't have to go home, but you can't sit there. You got to leave that seat. That didn't work out as funny as it sounded in my mind, but
I thought it was funny. I mean, it's close. It's close.
Yeah. He's leaving that seat open, so we need to take it, and we can in Pennsylvania. That's a huge opportunity.
Yeah. There's a lot of good that we can do this year. I think that people are starting to feel a little dour about 2022. And listen, I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. I mean, the first midterm election of a president's term is tough for the president historically, almost always. So we have to keep that in mind. But I also think that just like the way in which people got involved over the last 5 years has given us sort of an activist base that we didn't have in past, elections. So, absolutely. I mean, I'm optimistic, and it's like I'm annoyingly optimistic sometimes, but I think that it's it's a good place to be. It's a good place to start. And then if we get blown out, then I won't be optimistic anymore. But I think that we've got a lot of good momentum going into this thing. And I think if we all step up, we can win some races that are on the margins. I mean, we lost some of the Senate races that we lost last year that were, toss-ups. I mean, those ended up being the difference between dealing with Joe Manchin or not dealing with Joe Manchin, right? I'd rather deal with Joe Manchin than Mitch McConnell for sure. But we could tell him to go kick rocks if we had won one or two more Senate races, maybe. So, so just winning, these individual races are just huge. And so, you mentioned Pennsylvania. It's a big one in Wisconsin. There's the big one in Florida. Val Deming's running down in Florida. So the Senate races are going to be big this year, and there's a lot of really great work that we can do. So
what you're saying, I totally agree with about 2022. These midterms they're do or die. I mean, just like you're saying, historically, 93%. That's the percent of the time that the party in power loses seats. And if we lose any seats in the House and Senate, we lose them both. But that's in normal times. These are not normal times. And that's why I'm optimistic like you are that we do have a chance to defy history, because you're also right that we're not the same as we were in 2016. We were just an unlikely fellowship of ragtag heroes, we're all trained now. We got 4-5 years of organizing training behind us, and we're more ready than we've ever been. It's a big challenge because there's just multiple burnouts going on, COVID burnout, political burnout, that we have to overcome. Hopefully this year has given people a little time to get over some of that, and we can explode out the gate in January and just build something huge. What happened in Georgia less than a year ago, last January, that was a miracle. I mean, that was a real miracle. I don't know if I'll ever see one like that in my lifetime again. Like 2 Democratic senators from Georgia in a runoff where turnout is always abysmal. That's insane. That's what we need to replicate that on a national scale in these midterms. We need to raise societal awareness to that threshold where it warps the fabric of space-time. And surprising outcomes
we're getting quantum physics here. I love it. It's like, as much as we can get into that space, I'm happy with it. Politics can be transcendent, in that sense. But no, it's true. I mean, those were huge races, and they made all the difference, in Georgia. And I think that the other thing that people should, keep in mind right now is, when you're signing up for volunteer activities right now, you're preparing your own mind for it. You're preparing your own body for it. You're preparing your own spirit for it, I guess you could say. And, by the time we get to the 2022 midterms, I mean, presumably we will have, who knows what the world's going to look like in a year from now, a little less than a year from now. But, if COVID is going better, if the economy is doing better, if some of the things that President Biden has announced in terms of the things that he's working on for the supply chain, for gasoline, all those sorts of things, if they're going better, we do have a fighting chance in November of 2022. So don't let right now's kind of languid feeling dictate your activities for the next year. Assume that things are going to get better. I mean, you can apply this to any area of life, but particularly in politics, particularly when we've got sort of the type of anti-democratic forces, banging at the gate right now. Just assume that things are going to get better, and go with that flow, right? I think that we're going to build up better. I believe. I think we'll have obviously we have the bipartisan infrastructure deal. A lot of good things that we're going to be able to run on next year around this time, and things change quickly. And things change drastically over a year. So, but any final thoughts, Jason, before we let you go and urge more people to sign up for your activities here?
So 2022, we're less than a year away. We're focusing on 9 target states. I listed them before, but just in case, it's just Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, with Texas and Wisconsin. And those are mainly
very good, very good, very good. I'm into it. I'm going to practice those myself, man.
Those are mainly triple word score states, which, means there's a Senate race, there's at least one House race in play, and down ballot to often big governor's races. Lots of governor's races that are important. We got to replace a few human trash fires like Brian Kemp in Georgia, Greg Abbott in Texas, Ron DeSantis in Florida. We got to reelect Tony Evers in Wisconsin, the Democrat. Absolutely need him. Need to elect a Democratic governor in Pennsylvania to replace term limited Tom Wolf. Reelect Steve Sisolak in Nevada. Get rid of Governor Doug Ducey in he's term limited, thank God. We got to replace him with a Democrat in Arizona. So there's those 9 states. If we can focus on those are the pressure points of the Republican Party. And those are the places where just small numbers of additional Democrats can have an outsized impact and swing these elections. We do that and keep on telling friends about this and doing what you can when you can. If it's once a month, great. If it's once a week, amazing. If you want to ramp up as it gets closer, that's also great. But we have almost a full year now to do all this. We can do this, and we do this. We concentrate in those spots. We have the strategy, we have the vision, we have the energy, and we have the moral high ground for sure. We're defending the whole democracy here. So we can do it. And thank you all for being so conscious of what's going on and so engaged. I wouldn't want to be on the other side.
Lots and lots and lots of work to do over the next year. Jason Berlin, founder of Field Team 6. Thank you for all the work that you've done so far. Thank you for providing an avenue for us to do more work. It's so important. It's the most important thing we could all be doing right now. So Jason Berlin, thank you so much for being on Blue, my friend.
Thank you. Thank all of you.